Hello and welcome to today, August 28th, 2018's episode of, yes, you have audio, of The Daily Space. I am Dr. Pamela Gay and I am coming to you live from Vienna, Austria, where I am currently attending the International Astronomical Union's Triennium meeting. This is the 30th meeting of this union, which brings together astronomers from all over the world to vote on, well, the way that we basically make a science. We are here to discuss our plans moving forward, to argue ideals, to fight over algorithms to decide the most precise ways of calculating different equations. We're here to figure out how to advance astronomy. Thank you for showing up, all of you wonderful people out in the audience. I'm so glad to hear that both the video and the audio is good. Currently, we have hit the weird stage in this year's IAU. In an unexpected move, the Presidential Council of the European Union is holding a meeting at the exact same venue as the International Astronomical Union. So tomorrow, I and all the rest of the news staff and a bunch of the bigwigs that we just happen to be scrounging in the same hotel as, we're all getting kicked out of our shindigs. So after being in this pretty good hotel for, well, almost 2 weeks, we, for security reasons, have to leave our abodes. So there's much frantic packing going on. Now, the reason that we have to do this is with the Presidential Council here, there's going to be bigger bigwigs than our astronomical bigwigs staying in this hotel. And for security reasons, they need to reserve the entire floors of the hotel rooms that they're staying in. So whoever is staying on the 5th floor gets the whole 5th floor. They're moving all of us for one night only over to a different hotel across the highway from here. So this is going to lead to not just us getting disrupted where we stay, but Thursday will be interesting at the union. Over at the GA, we're going to have to go through a different entrance to the building, and they are going to be doing security sweeps of all people attending the meeting. I'm waiting for the poor slob of a grad student who accidentally forgets his name badge, and that poor elderly person who has embedded minerals and just wasn't prepared for the pat down. So these things happen. We will be bringing it all to you when it's over. Now, for now, what we're seeing today with the end of Tuesday is we have moved in to a whole new round of symposium, of focus meetings, of meetings within the meeting. As I said to you all yesterday, the real way that you should be looking at the International Astronomical Union meetings is not as one massive conference that lasts for 2 weeks, but rather as an opportunity to get people to come together for 2 weeks and hold all their meetings at once. So there's a whole variety of focus group meetings and symposia, which are all competitively selected. People propose different ideas. They come together in collaborations. Sometimes the IAU asks people, hey, you two have similar ideas. Why don't you work together? And out of these efforts, we come out with a core group of focus meetings and symposia that are given time and space to meet here at the IAU. This makes it much more convenient for various people to attend, and thanks DRW40 for the host. Thank you so much. And I see Guido commenting, politics affecting science. Who would have thought? Now, when politics affect science, things get affected in multiple different ways. So, of course, we have our own politics. These are exactly which one of these symposium are we going to select? Exactly which pulsar are we going to use to zero our coordinate systems between two different wavelengths? There's lots of different political decisions that we make within our group. Now, beyond that, we also have the general politics of what is right and what is wrong. And this is something that I never, when I went into astronomy, thought that I'd be dealing with. Today, we've moved on to discussions on how we leverage astronomy for development of the world. Um, Literally, how do we leverage astronomy to develop the world? The argument is that with astronomy, we have the potential to build infrastructures in remote places that not only allow us to do science under dark skies, but also bring those people opportunities of employment, opportunities of access to technology, access to, well, water. We sometimes bring wells and other infrastructure that people living in remote places just might not have. Now, there are those that would argue that it is a waste of astronomy dollars to not just be building telescopes, but to also be building endeavors to help the locals in the places where we build our telescopes understand what we're doing. This came to a forefront in the media about 3 years ago with the 30-meter telescope. During the last GA, which was held in Hawaii, we faced a variety of different protests from the indigenous people who were not entirely happy with the, well, long-held agreement that a sacred mountain is rented for basically $1 a year. The astronomers haven't always held true to the terms of the treaty, which limits the number of telescopes that should be built at the top of the mountain, rather than holding to the exact number in a literal way. They're finding ways to say, well, this array of telescopes only counts as one telescope. And with the 30-meter telescope that would be built large enough to be seen out of the crater of the mountain, there's a lot of concern. And with the mountain coming up for renewal on its lease in 2033, the question was, should we allow this observatory to move forward? We're still 3 years later waiting to hear if that telescope is truly going to be built there, or if instead they're going to build it in the Canary Islands, where the local people desperately want the telescope because of the economic benefits that it brings. Unfortunately, the people living in Hawaii have often found that they aren't granted the same access, the same privilege as the people who are often referred to as colonists, who were there colonizing their region for science. So what we're finding is there are places where the telescopes have essentially been Europeans coming in, white North Americans coming in and saying, we shall take your land and we shall build a telescope on it, and we promise you many great benefits, and nothing happens. But then there are other places, Chile, for example, the Canary Islands, where the economies boom, or at least they go up. And so we have to leverage, how do we go in and do good with our science and not cause huge turmoil such that even the people of New Zealand are sending protesters because of a telescope being built on a holy site. It's complicated, and these kinds of politics have been in the discussions for today, where we have focused on what is our right, what is our moral, obligation to not just develop astronomy, but develop the world as we do astronomy. It's a complicated argument. I clearly come down on the side of we need to educate everyone, because everyone can help us doing the astronomy as well. So these are the things that come up at these meetings. And what I'm pleased to share, and I'm going to come back and go through all of the comments, what I'm pleased to share is that in its 10-year strategic plan, the International Astronomical Union is looking to continue its educational opportunities. Currently, we have an Office of Astronomy for Development built in South Africa. We have an Office of Astronomy for Outreach. So, this is where you think museums, planetarium shows. It is part of the National Observatory for Astronomy in Japan. We have a virtual network of office for young astronomers, and now they're looking to hold a competition for somebody to host the Office of Astronomy for Education. So this will essentially round out the complete picture of what it takes to change our planet, from recognizing we can change a community with a telescope that lets people imagine a world beyond their small village. We can educate people in science, technology, engineering, and math by inviting them into a museum and letting them play and explore. And once we've built the infrastructure and once we've got them inspired with the outreach, it's time to educate them. And a small fraction, only a small fraction, I hope, because we don't have any jobs, but a small fraction of those people we educate, we inspire, they'll go on and become the next generation of young astronomers. But this is another part of the discussions I heard today, and that's the necessity to not just replicate ourselves, but to recognize that the sky belongs to all of us, and not all of us belong to astronomy. It's important for everyone to, at a certain degree, be able to go outside and understand that shooting stars isn't actually a portent of doom, that a solar eclipse isn't a dragon eating the sun. We need a certain amount of actual science education, but not everyone has to be an astrophysicist. And Lord knows we need artisans. Well, I sure needed someone to come and repair my driveway last week when it got turned into a moat. We need highly skilled individuals working at every level of the economy. And that's the key, is highly skilled. That's not the same thing as getting a PhD. And so we have to celebrate all possibilities and open the sky for everyone, no matter what their future may be. Anyways, that's my inspirational talk on what I heard today that really got me inspired. Now, beyond all of the stuff on astronomy, education, outreach, and development, we also had talks focusing in on magnetic fields. One of the more fascinating sessions that's currently going on is one that looks at how astrometry is going to be opening the doors for us to understand everything from exoplanets to dark matter. And seeing that written in one sentence kind of made me confused for a moment, because I never imagined that studying one thing would open the door to both planets and dark matter, but also gave me a real insight into the true importance of missions like Gaia and the missions that are currently planned to, well, even go beyond what Gaia is capable of doing. With these spacecraft, we're able to measure the positions on the sky and the brightness of objects on the sky with a previously unknown accuracy. And this amazing accuracy, first of all, it points out small movements. It points out exact positions. It points out the changes in brightness that indicate where there are planets to be found. And in all these motions and all of these changes in brightness, we get hints of how things are moving and how those movements are influenced by the things we can't see. One of the predictions I read today is that in the coming decades, the currently planned spacecraft are going to make it possible for us to identify all Jupiter-sized objects in the nearby galaxy and all Earth-sized planets in the habitable zones of nearby stars that aren't too different from our sun. This is amazing, considering we've only been discovering regular planets around regular stars since 1995. We're looking at, within a single human lifetime, going from no known normal planets outside our own to a universe filled with planets and knowing pretty much all of the ones that are located nearby. Now, that's the amazing exoplanet find. But on the other side, it's been over a generation that we've known dark matter. Vera Rubin, who unfortunately passed away last year, um, she was one of the people who found this mysterious stuff that we still can't define. But within our own galaxy, just here in our galaxy, I'm not talking about the whole universe, we don't know how much dark matter is in the core. Is there a halo that drops off? Is there, in fact, a donut of dark matter around our system? We're pretty sure there isn't a donut. But the way we get at the distribution of dark matter within our own galaxy is by very carefully measuring the movements of the stars closest to our supermassive black hole and continuing to measure the movements of objects to greater and greater distances. This includes measuring the movements of the gas clouds and other not so usual suspects in the outer parts of our galaxy's sphere of influence. Now, with Gaia, we're going to have unprecedented measurements of how everything is, well, getting along as it gets around our galaxy. And this will allow us to finally understand that real distribution of dark matter, all thanks to astrometry. And the idea that one kind of science, measuring the positions of things on the sky, which may be one of the most boring things to do by itself, this one boring task has the most amazing repercussions for all the rest of science. And this is where IAU has its importance. We're not here to discuss the breakthroughs. We're here to discuss how do we get to the point that we make these breakthroughs. Who are the teams from all the different nations in the world? Did you know China's working on building its own space telescope comparable to Hubble? It's here at these meetings where we get everyone from everywhere face to face, all 83 nations of the Union and a variety of random members from random other places. It's together that we plot out how to discover things in the future and how to get through all the red tape that it's going to take us to get there. So that's pretty much what I've got for tonight. I'm going to now look through and see what questions that you all have. And of course, please feel free to add questions. I'm starting at the top and working my way down. And yes, Larry, they do quite often schedule multiple talks you all want to go see at once, all at the same time. This is entirely true of every large meeting. Headshot said, are there statistics regarding the costs of making and operating different types of telescopes? The best example I know to work off of is, and every telescope has its own cost, and any of them that are public telescopes, you can look this up. And there are people who keep statistics on this. I just don't keep all of them in my head. But the one example I have is building the South African Large Telescope cost about $20 million all told, and it doesn't cost anywhere near that much to maintain. Once it was constructed, it is a state-of-the-art telescope that is one of the largest in the world. And for the amount of money that was used to build it, that wasn't even enough money to buy lunch for everyone in the nation for one day. And that telescope, well, it revolutionized that part of South Africa and started the nation off to become one of the new great astronomy nations. From their success with SALT to building Meerkat radio telescopes, they are now part of the Square Kilometer Array and in the running to host the 2024 General Assembly of the IAU. So the costs aren't that great in the grand scheme of things, but the rewards for the community are tremendous. And a telescope built on the ground, well, it will last decades and centuries to come. the 82-inch telescope built in the 1930s at McDonald Observatory, is still regularly used for science. So Hanny commented, you would think that there would be agreements that would be beneficial for everyone. So the problem is defining beneficial. What one person considers a benefit may benefit someone else at a small amount, but there are, of course, those who argue I should have a bigger share and these others don't need to benefit at all. It sort of becomes the prisoner's dilemma. Do you agree to work together to the long-term smaller benefit of all, or do you take the short-term gain for some? I wish everyone would take the long-term gain, but that's not how most games get played out. So Hanny is asking, what is an example of a good cooperation between scientists and locals? Puerto Rico with Arecibo National Telescope, Arecibo Radio Telescope. I don't think it's still part of NRAO. I could be wrong on that. It is funded in part through the National Science Foundation. That is a good example. There are better ones around. Truly, in Chile, they have created entire townships that support all of these observatories, and the number of jobs are huge. The astronomers that move there spend money, they improve the schools, and now we see leading Chilean astronomers working in the United States. And it's when you start seeing the people living in the places we're trying to benefit joining us in the rest of the world and competing for jobs globally. Astronomy should be global. There should be a random smattering of people from all over the world as we rehome ourselves in the name of science. So Chile is really a shining star. Caroline, I do agree that there is a problem with amateur astronomy, with it coming across as astronomy is only for the rich. And this is where we do see a lot of people working to build telescope networks that are completely free for educators, completely free for student use, where we all share time on telescopes across the internet. As a professional astronomer, I don't actually go to the observatory except for a few rare cases. McDonald Observatory, where I did my dissertation, is one of those examples. The rest of the time, professional astronomers submit guidelines on it's more complicated. We have nasty forms we fill out. And when we fill out these nasty forms, what it does is it tells the telescope coordinator what moon phase, what sky angle, or what number of orbits. It very finely says this is how you observe this. And we share time on the telescopes globally. And there's now projects such as the Las Campanas Telescope Network, which there's a Google in there somewhere, LCOGT. It is free for educators. And just like professional telescopes, you just log in over the internet, you say what you want images of. You can, in some cases, even operate the telescopes. iTelescope offers telescope time as well. And many of these programs, they have scientific organizing committees, and there's always ways. Now, it requires having access to technology, and the digital divide is really one of the most concerning things. And I hate that we give all these opportunities to children, but then amateur astronomy clubs don't always have ways of continuing to grow that love. Where I live in Illinois, we're lucky because our libraries almost all have telescopes that they loan out. So I can go to my local library and put my name on a list because there's always a waiting list. I can put my name on a list and borrow a high quality telescope from the library. I want to see projects like that all over the world that increase access so that it's not just the people who join the local club, but anyone who goes to the library who has access to the sky. So Hanny, It's complicated, I think, is the correct answer to your question about, are these deals usually done with governments? In the United States and in some other European countries, we have sufficiently affluent institutions where we have individual institutions buying in to a single telescope. In some cases, we have an individual state buying into a telescope. So here you'll see some telescopes are supported by a Max Planck Institute, while others will be supported by the European Southern Observatory. In the US, we have the National Science Foundation versus the University of California system. In other places, it is indeed the entire nation. If I want to deal with Sri Lanka, I know who I go to, and I deal with Sri Lanka. So it varies from country to country. So Henny is asking, what extent could the dark matter in the galaxy be measured by measuring the speed of hypervelocity stars? That is an article I saw come out today that I did not read. Hypervelocity stars are indeed one of the prime things that we like to look at to measure dark matter, because their velocities might not be what we would expect based on the visible distribution of mass. I don't know the details other than hypervelocity stars can be used to answer this question, and I feel like you already read the article. Hey, Rosen Michael. So Denizen of Earth is asking, how specific is our current understanding of the distribution of dark matter? Not very at small scales. So yeah. We don't know very much. Hello, Rocket Sage. You can always lurk. Lurking is always welcome here. So I think I have caught up on all the questions. Is there anything else you want to know? Hey, Phoenix. Welcome to the lurking. So tomorrow night, I will not be here because we have complete chaos with the invasion of the President's Council. I'm going to be sorting things out in a completely different hotel. I don't know the internet setup. I know nothing. So instead, my colleague, Dr. Andreas Plazas, he's going to come to you and bring you all the science. And I know he does an amazing job. And hopefully I'll get to join you in the audience. I don't know yet. I'm so glad that you like the stream, Rocket Sage. Thank you, Phoenix. Thank you, Larry, for being here. And so if you want to know more about what's going on right here at the International Astronomical Union, the official newspaper for the IAU can be found at astronomy2018.cosmoquest.org. If that URL sounds a little bit familiar, it's because I'm the editor-in-chief and we're doing this as a special project just on the side to help everyone out over here at CosmoQuest. So check it all out, and as always, the Daily Space is brought to you by CosmoQuest, and we invite you to join us over at cosmoquest.org and explore our solar system. Go check it out and help us find the interesting places to do science and the safe places to land on the moon, Mars, and all the other worlds. One by one, we're adding them in. Anyways, that's all I've got for tonight. Give us a follow. Follows are free, and we'll let you know whenever we go live. We do have multiple people hosting multiple shows over on this channel. We are sustained through your subscriptions, and every bit really matters. Thank you all for being here. It's kind of awesome. And I will hopefully see you. I'm trying to remember what days. I will see you Thursday. I will see you all here Thursday night. So say hi to Andreas for me tomorrow. And wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And remember to go out and look up. Bye-bye.